Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is Confidence Mindset with Amanda. So in this video I wanted to go over a Neville Goddard story because I know in this community we do tend to reference Neville Goddard a lot, but there was one particular story that I find is never spoken about in the manifesting community, especially when it comes to manifesting specific people. And I kind of find it very fascinating that nobody ever focuses on this Neville Goddard story, because this story in particular is an example of how when you just decide what it is that you want, you're going to get it, and it doesn't matter who has to move or whatever, you're going to get what you want. Because this person, I have mentioned her before from the story, but I just wanted to put a little emphasis on her because I have watched a good bit of content when it comes to manifesting and all that kind of thing, and I have read a lot of Neville Goddard myself, and I always used to think about this story, and I used to think to myself, why does no manifestation coaches talk about this story when they are talking about Neville Goddard, particularly with manifesting specific people? Because manifesting specific people is such a big topic within the law of assumption community, and so I just wanted to bring it up and emphasize on it. So it's this woman, you probably know it if you've read Neville Goddard yourself, you will know that she went out on a date with this guy, and it was a blind date, and so they ended up moving from different places. She had to move away, I think, the next day to a new job. She went on other dates afterwards, but she realized that this was the guy that she wanted to marry. Now, when we look at this story, she has no history with this guy. She didn't even know if this guy knew her name because it was a blind date. They had moved away from wherever they were in the proximity of each other, so there was distance, there was no story, really no story, because as I say, she doesn't know if he even knew her name. But she went on these other dates and she realized that no, she still wanted to be with this guy, but she had no idea how she was ever going to contact him. And when you think about back in those days as well, there's no mobile phones or internet or anything to be able to contact anyone either, and so everything is really put into your faith and leaving it up to chance. So what she did was she decided that she went to Neville Goddard and she listened to his teachings, and she decided to go to bed every night and pretend that she was married to this guy. And she even said herself, because it was a blind date and they'd only met the once, she said she didn't even know how he even felt about her or whether he even liked her at all, but she didn't dwell on that. She just went to bed at night. She pretended with the story, it's the ring around the finger. I think that's the story that people focus on, but I just wanted to go a little bit more in depth into why. So the ring around the finger, she pretended to feel a ring around her finger, but what she affirmed to herself every night was, this is wonderful, I am now Mrs. J.E., I think it was, or whatever. But she went to bed at night and she did this. And she did this for about a month. So, there's no time with your manifestation, so don't be worrying. But this is what she did every night, going to bed, pretending that she was married to this guy. And after about a month of doing this every night, he showed up in her reality. They ended up getting engaged and they got married the following year. And I just think that it's such a great story from Neville Goddard's teachings, particularly with manifesting specific people. And it just shows as well too, like there was no way of contact. There was no, no phones, no internet. There was no idea of where that person was, didn't know the address. All she had was her faith, and her faith in believing in her assumption that she fell asleep to every night. And everything in her 3D was the opposite. Everything was not reflecting to her any way at all of knowing that this was going to happen, but she just persisted with that assumption every single night. And in this day and age, if you're manifesting for a specific person, there is so many more ways to be in contact with that person that can come to your logical mind. So you may have a feeling or whatever that they may text you, or there's internet. There's so many other different ways to contact someone if they're in another country, and she didn't have any of these ways. All she had was her assumption, and it ended up that it manifested for her. She continued to fall asleep to the assumption every single night. And I wanted to kind of bring up that story and stress on it as part of Neville Goddard's teachings, because I know that within this community everyone talks about Neville Goddard's teachings the most. And it's one that particularly stands out to me when it comes to manifesting specific people. And of all the videos that I have ever watched on YouTube, I don't think I have really heard any coach sit down and actually specify this actual story that happened within Neville Goddard's teachings and manifesting specific people. So we have a woman who had no history with this guy. We had a woman who had, she didn't even know if he liked her, she only met him the once. She didn't even know if if he knew her name. They had no way of contact. She didn't know how he was ever going to find her because they didn't even live in the same area, and yet she still manifested him as her husband. And so these are all impossible things that we would be looking at in our 3D. Like if that was the case nowadays, like nowadays we have phones and internet and all those kind of things, but in that reality of having no history with anyone, not even knowing if they liked you, or not even knowing if they knew your name, and she's still not, no way of contact, no internet, no Instagram, no Snapchat, no Twitter, no YouTube, no anything, no WhatsApp, whatever, no way of contact, and yet she still fell asleep every night assuming that she was married to this guy and manifested him. So that is a great story to keep going when you're manifesting for your specific people, because when we look to the 3D for validation, we are telling ourselves in that moment that we're worried about time and things like that. But when we look to this story of this woman and how she did it, it's just remarkable of fallen into sleep every night with the assumption that she was married to him, and then that's what happened the following year. So keep going if you're a manifesting specific person. You will manifest them once you get into that knowing, into that assumption, into that repetition of your thought, as she did every night. She fell asleep every night. Now I know she did do some feelings because she was feeling her finger with the ring and all that, but even at that, she still just fell asleep to the assumption that this is wonderful, I am now Mrs. J.E. or whatever, and that's inevitably what happened. So I just wanted to make a quick video on that, as I wanted to kind of bring in Neville Goddard into my channel a little bit, because I don't talk about him too much, even though I know that I've read all of his work anyway, and but I just found that story really fascinating and wanted to bring it in because, as I say, I think it is remarkable. She had all the possibilities thrown at her and she still made everything possible. So thank you so much for watching, and I will chat to you soon.